Hello everybody, this is Bronislava for HandMadeRukodelky. Today's video, let me go and show you actually couple things that I want to talk about. Two scarves, and one of them is that I have already finished long time ago. Actually, I finished it today because I had to still cut my fringe off, but I don't think you ever saw the finished project. So this is it. This is my sky scarf. You remember when I was making it this spring, and I was working lengthwise. That means that I was making really long row, and then the width of my scarf is the one that the rows, okay, that where I was proceeding with the rows. And so just kind of wanted to show you how it looks. Well, let me put it on, and I'm really happy with it. Never showed you how it looked. So this is my scarf, okay, and of course it's kind of also reversible, okay, just to show you. So just in case you want to go and knit this cabled scarf, there is a playlist, and so you can either find it below my video, okay, or I will go and provide the link here on the directly on the video. But today's project is actually different, and it's a scarf that my mom used to make for us children, and somebody actually requested this scarf, so it was kind of, you know, nostalgic. It's really nostalgic to make scarf like this. And although I was trying to make it for like a kid, you know, it actually fits me, so maybe I'm a kid. Anyway, so, but if you want to make it for a little baby, even smaller than a kid, you would just need to go and do lower number of increases, stop somewhere in here, and then continue with making this part, although you would have a lower number of stitches right here, and also you would have to make it shorter, okay, so the opening wouldn't be so huge for a smaller, this part, you know, that is smaller, okay. And then also you would need a lower number of these rows, okay, and then you would again make a, you know, lower number of these stitches and lower number of the rows over here and lower number of decreases, okay. So that's how you would go and make a smaller scarf. And also, if you know, I made it two-tone, okay, but you can go and make it just one color if you want, or make many different tones, okay, you know, use different colors, several more than just one, to make it more interesting, you know. And this is how you actually wear it. This is how you wear it. So you can either put, because I have two tones, right, so I can put it through this opening, okay, and wear it like this, all right, or I can put it through this opening and wear it like this. So, not cool? I love it. Okay, so so this is what we will be working on today. And don't forget that all the links are in the description below the video, okay? I will cast on 4 stitches. So this is 1, this is 2, 3, and 4. And we will knit 1 row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we knitted 1 row. Now what we need to do is we will always increase in each row at the beginning. Okay, we are actually starting our first increase over here on this side. After you are all finished with all your increases, you will basically increase last increase on this side. Okay, so it would be even. Okay, so you would have same number of increases on this side and on this side. Okay, now you can increase as many stitches as you want. It depends how wide you want the shape, okay, and how big your scarf you want, how wide your scarf you want. Okay, so anyway, so let's go and start increasing. We will basically increase by placing the needle purlwise, but in the back of this needle, okay. Then you will knit that stitch. You don't take the stitch off, and then you will increase over here. So you have to be very flexible with your hands and your dexterity. Okay, so then we will go and place our needle over here, and we will knit that stitch like we would knit in a regular way. Okay, so we increased by 1 stitch. Now we will finish knitting the row. We will knit the row to the end. Okay, and now we will turn around and we will do the same thing again. Okay, so we will go in here in the back purlwise. We will knit the stitch. Don't take this stitch down, and knit it in a regular way. Okay, and I'm always tightening up my first 2 stitches, and then we will knit all the way to the end. Okay, now we increased on both sides. So again, like I said, you see, this was my last increase, so I am even on both sides. Okay, so when I would go and turn around, if I increase here, then I have to increase over here, so we are increased on both sides. Remember that. All right, it's very important. So I will just continue doing this, and actually let me show it to you also in English style. Okay, so I will go through the back loop over here in the purlwise. Oops, let me go and do it. Yes, like this way under. Okay, you place the needle over this yarn here. Okay, purlwise in the back, and then we will knit. Okay, we will knit through the back loop. Now we need to knit in a regular way. So again, we have that flexibility of over here. Okay, and we will knit 2nd stitch and tighten the stitches. Now knit all the way to the end. Okay, knit all the way to the end. I have to always tighten up my stitches if I'm doing it the English style and not continental style. Okay, so I increased on this side, and if I don't want it to be loopy, I need to also increase on this side. Okay, so again, we are going to, let me see what's going on in here. Which one is my, okay. Always in the beginning, it's kind of difficult, right? With those tails. Okay, so we will go through the back loop. Okay, we will go and knit through the back loop, and we will now knit in a regular way. Okay, and now knit all the way to the end. All the way to the end. Okay, so, and when I'm finished with increasing, I probably will want to have about, I would say 32 stitches over here, okay, 32. So continue just like that, okay, through the back loop, purlwise, and then through the front loop, knitwise, the regular way, okay, and you increase again, and then you knit all the way to the end. So continue adding these stitches until your desired number of stitches. And also just make sure that you always tighten up your first three stitches, and when I start knitting my next one, I always pull on it, because when I pull on it, it shortens the ones here on the edge, okay? And then I pull on this one too, I kind of make it a little bigger. I have 32 stitches, okay, and my last increase was on this side, right? If I turn it around, you see this is my tail, this is where my increase was, okay? And I have to go and knit a few rows straight up. And since I have 32 stitches, I decided to knit 16, half of it, okay? So I will knit back and forth 16 rows without increasing, okay? So we just will knit back and forth 16 rows. Now I was always tightening up my definitely first 3 stitches, okay? You need to tighten up first 3 stitches and also tighten up your last 3 stitches. And these can be knitted, you know, loosely. You don't have to worry about those stitches. Otherwise, your edge would be extremely wavy, okay? So you don't want this edge to be very wavy, okay? So really make sure that you tighten up your first 3 stitches and your last stitches. Even if you want, you can go and tighten up your 4 stitches, first 4 stitches and last 4 stitches. So when I have 16 rows, I will show you what I will do next, and that's going to be very, very important to watch. I knitted my 16 rows, and now we have to make a decision if we want to add a couple more rows. All right, so when we go and squish these stitches together, because it's going to be narrow in here, we need to look at the shape of this end, okay? And if we feel that we want this part a little longer, we will add more rows. And now we need to transfer these stitches onto 2 needles, and you should have probably the best if you would have double pointed needles, or if you would have circular needles, or at least one circular needle, which would be in the back of the first one, okay? So you will have them lined up perpendicularly like this, and this is going to be needle number 1, needle number 2. So what we will do is we will transfer the stitches. Oh, why you need the double pointed or circular is because we will be, when we move the stitches onto here, we will be starting over here. So if you would go and use the regular long needle and it has the end that stops the yarn from coming off, you would not be able to knit. Okay, you would have to transfer it back onto another needle again. Okay, so now what we will need to do is every other stitch we will go and put on this needle, and every other stitch put on this needle. Okay, and I kind of have them lined up like this. Okay, and then I go with this needle purlwise, or kind of like you're going to slide that stitch onto this needle. Okay, you will take it off, and then you will slide this stitch onto the back needle like this, and you will slide it down. Now you will go and slide this one on this needle, the next needle on the first needle, front needle, and then back needle, next stitch, front needle and back needle, front needle. Okay, move these stitches down and try to hold them with the thumb so they don't come off. And these try to hold with your index. Okay, so I did this one, so we need to do next this one. And be flexible with your wrists, your elbows, your arms. Okay, and so we did a back needle. We need to do the front needle and back needle and front needle. See, and I'm always holding them with my thumb. And this one, so it doesn't slip and I don't lose it, I hold with this one. So once I transfer it, I move my thumb. Okay, I release it and my thumb is holding this one. And the back needle and the front needle. And be flexible with your arms, don't worry. Okay, move these back, move them down a little bit. And again, back and front. And back. And you can also like move them this way if you need to, okay? You see? Okay, very good. So now we have them. You see how it is done? So they're really tight now in here. Very, very tight. And this is going to be our first needle that we will knit, and we will ignore the back needle. And what is actually happening now, if it's going to be kind of difficult for some of you, not all of you, but some of you, if you have these two needles right next to each other and you have to knit only on the front needle, on this one, okay? And it's because it's very tight in here. So if you want, you can go and do one regular needle and one in the back. You could go and have your circular needle, which would be a little bit, you know, the cable is thinner, so it would not be as tight for you. Okay, so that's my kind of a point for you. Now we will knit only on the front needle, and we will knit and purl stitches. So knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, all the way to the end, and we will finish with purl. Now you have to make sure that, for example, you don't finish all these stitches, let's say on 34 stitches, because then you would have instead of 16 stitches here, you would have 17 and 17, which is odd number of stitches. You always want to have even number stitches here and even number stitches here. Okay, so it's always 32 stitches, 36 stitches, because 36 stitches divided by 2 would be 18, so that would be 18 here and 18 here. If you would go and do 40 stitches, then you would have 20 stitches here and 20 stitches here. Okay, now if you would have, for example, 50 stitches over here across before you would place them on these, you would have 25 here and 25 here, so that's not good. You would have to end up with either 48 stitches or 52 stitches. Okay, so keep that on mind. And I will now start knitting. Let me show it to you in English style, actually, probably better. So I'll kind of hold these two needles together and I will knit and purl. Okay, let me see, I'm doing it wrong here. Okay, knit and purl. So knit to the front. You see it's kind of awkward a little bit here. And this is going to be purl stitch. Tighten up. Yarn in the back for knit stitch. Knit. Okay, tighten up. Yarn in the front for purl stitch. Okay, so this is how you will do it. English style. Knit. Oops, I didn't catch it. Okay, and purl. So knit and purl. You don't do anything with the second and the back needle. Okay, so let me get untangled over here. And let's go back to my continental style. So knit and purl. Knit and purl. It's kind of a little tight over here for me because I don't have circular needles with me. I'm traveling and I don't have all the tools that I need. Okay, knit and purl. And I finished with purl. Okay, now I'm gonna keep this in the middle so I don't lose my stitches. Turn, and I will knit and purl again. Knit and purl. And I will knit and purl 20 rows. So this is my second row, okay? Here. Okay, so it's going to start being much easier on me right now because I will be further away from that back needle. Okay, so I will knit and purl. This is my row 20. And after we're finished with this row 20, we will work on our second needle, on the back needle, okay? Okay, very good. I'm going to go and cut this yarn. I'm gonna go and leave long enough tail in here because we will knit with it. We need to work on our second needle. And this is the way how we're going to do it. Now, you would think that we need to start on this side and continue doing the same thing like what we did in here. But no, you must remember we need to start with this part pushed down this way, okay, in front of us, and we will just start working in here, because remember, if we would have all the stitches on one needle, we would be always working on this side. So we do need to start on this needle, also on this side, not on this side, okay? So I will go and flip this down, and we can go and start knitting over here. So what I will do, I will just knit. I will go and pull the yarn through. And now, because I don't want to be weaving this in, it would be very difficult to weave it in on the inside. And actually, it's kind of easier for us to knit with both. And I twirl these two yarns together, make it skinnier. Okay. And then I wind it up on my finger, and I just continue knitting. So I did knit stitch, and I will do purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch. Okay, we still probably can get one more knit stitch in here. Knit stitch, and I'm going to go and push this end to the inside. So we did knit stitch, we will do purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, and purl stitch. And I will continue with 19 more rows. So I will turn around and I will knit. I will tighten up my stitches in here. And as I'm knitting, tighten up also my first 3-4 stitches, okay? 1, this is knit and purl. Okay, and continue knit and purl. Now, don't be afraid, you know, or concerned actually about, you know, that this looks too big in here. Because what I will do, let me go and finish this row and just show you what I would do, because it kind of gets stretched there. Okay, and we go and do a purl, last stitch is purl. So what I would do is, because these stitches kind of each pull certain way, and you see, look, it's not as big anymore when you pull also this side, okay? So it's not as huge in here, and it's more distributed, the tension, okay? So now we need to do 18 more rows. So I'm finished with my 20 rows on the second part, second needle, the back needle, okay? And we need to go and put it together, back how it was before. Now, because I have yarn in here, okay, I don't want to, I cannot continue with this yarn because this was our first stitch. We're going to make this stitch first because we already have the yarn attached to the ball. So this is how we will do it, just like we were doing it, you know, taking it apart. Now we do need to go and put it back together. So I will go and put this one as my first stitch, and then we put needle again purlwise over here and take it off, purlwise and take it off, okay, purlwise and take it off. And again, I'm holding my stitches with these fingers over here and these stitches with these fingers so I do not lose them. So let me see, we took this stitch we took last, so now we need to take this one, back needle, front needle, back needle, front needle, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, front. All right, and all the way to the end. Okay, look at that, and we are here, and we're back on one needle. Okay, so now what I will do is I will combine these two yarns, and again I will twirl it. Okay, twirl, 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 twirl it and wind it on my finger, and I will just knit all the stitches. I will continue with this simple knit both sides pattern, okay, which is very easy for you to do now. So knit all the stitches. Okay, make sure that you separate these stitches before you start knitting. Don't knit two stitches. Don't knit two stitches together, okay? Make sure that you separate your stitches when you're doing a knit stitch. Okay, almost there. Almost at the end of that stitch, that of that yarn, or that of that tail. Here it is. Now let's go and tighten it, and I want to actually put it on the inside. So what I will do is I have a little hole right there, and I will put it on the inside and I pull on it. Okay, because I want it tight. I don't want it loose. And now I will continue with just one string from my ball. And again, make sure you don't knit two stitches together, okay? All right, I'm at the end over here. And I will continue again knitting all my stitches. So what is going to happen now? I will make a long part. We will knit, many rows that would actually wrap around our neck. Okay, so this part needs to be as long as you need it to be wrapped around the neck before you start dividing it again. Okay, you will divide on the other end of this panel that you're going to be knitting, and then we would go and finish knitting this part. So you really have to make a decision how long this panel you want. Okay, you want a really long panel, enough to basically wrap around your neck and crisscross in the front on your chest. So that's what I will do. Now over here, you remember we did two yarns together, so do not worry that you're knitting these two yarns together. That's what we need to do. These two yarns are, instead of I knit it together because I don't want to be weaving it in. All right, so I will knit as many rows as I need to. And when I am ready to separate my stitches again on 2 needles and do this part, I will show you. I will just show you quickly how to do it. It's going to be the same thing like when we were doing it over here. You will do it on the other side of this panel and then do the same thing, knit two separated pieces and then put them together, and then you would need to knit straight piece over here, and then instead of increasing we will be decreasing into the point. Okay, as you see I already knitted about 5 inches, but you can go and make it longer, shorter, depending on the neck of the person. Okay, and now I want to go and make it actually two-tone. So I will introduce another color in here. I will work with white color, and I will just start knitting. Okay. Again, I like to, usually when I knit, I like to twirl my yarn. Okay, twirl it to make it skinny so I don't have to weave it in later on. I'm trying to eliminate all my weaving because I do better job by combining tail and a yarn and knitting these 2 strands at the same time. Okay, so I will just keep knitting until the end of my row, and I will actually knit 8 rows. And then I will knit 8 rows with gray color after the white. I think this is enough. After that I will knit 4 rows with white, 4 rows with gray, then 8 rows with white, 8 rows with gray, and then I will just continue knitting with white. So I will have this part on the other side, I will have in white color. I am finished with my 8 rows, okay, and I will start working 8 rows with my gray again, but I don't want yarn to be along this edge that I would go and start knitting without cutting it off, so I will cut this off. Later on I will weave it in, okay, and I will actually start my row with gray color exactly the same way like I did here with white one. And this, you see, I don't have to weave it in anymore. I will just clip this off. So I cut my yarn off and I clipped my white over here, and then this one will have to be weaved in just like this one. And this one, the starting one, we will actually work it in, okay? And I am going to show you how I am doing it the English style, okay? I'm gonna try to twirl it, but I'm not sure if I'll be successful enough. With this hand, I need to twirl it each time, I think. Okay, one more. And I'm sure this will never unravel. Okay, and now I just will continue knitting with my just single strand. Okay. And when I have 8 rows with gray color, then I will do 4 rows with white color, 4 rows with gray color, 8 rows with white color, and 8 rows with gray color. Okay. So when I'm finished with all these rows, I will show you how it looks, and then I will continue knitting my this part in white. Okay. So I'm finished with my middle panel where we are changing into a white part over here on this side. All right, and I will just start with my white color now. So I will go and knit 40 rows of my white before I start separating my yarn, my stitches over here. Okay. So again, I will go and make my twirly yarn. I will twirl so I can go and knit, and I don't need to weave in this tail, and it's getting a little bit loose over here, so tighten it up if you need to. Okay. All right, so when I have a total 40 rows or 20 of these squiggly lines, I will start working on our separation of the stitches. As you see, I knitted 20 of my squiggly lines, in other words 40 rows. Okay, and I am ready to start working on our part where we need to separate these stitches to 2 sections. Okay, we will separate them here, put them together here, and then finish knitting in white yarn, off-white, in this direction. Okay, so let's go and take our 2 needles again. All right, and let's go and start putting our stitches, alternating them and putting them on our 2 needles. So I have my stitches separated on 2 needles. Okay, and again I will start knitting on my first needle closest to me where my yarn is coming from. Okay, and I will just make again knit and purl stitches, and I will make 20 rows. I knitted 20 rows over here. Okay, I clipped my yarn, and now I am ready to do my back needle. Again, with this one in front, we need to start on this side. Okay, so I will do exactly what I did with the gray yarn. Okay, as you see, I am finished with both parts now. Okay, and I will put my stitches back together. So once you have all the stitches on your needle, you just will start knitting each stitch. Okay, each stitch, and knit as many rows as you knitted over here. So I will knit 16 rows, okay? That's what I will do. Again, I'm twirling it because I don't want to be weaving it in. The knitting will do that for me. As you see, I knitted my 16 rows and I'm ready to decrease my stitches. So what we need to do is we need to first knit the stitch through the back loop. Okay, so you need to place your needle and go through the back loop, purl-wise and in the back, right? You can also, if you have hard putting the needle in this way, you can also do it this way and then swing it over, okay? And then you knit the stitch. I spliced my yarn, okay. And now we will knit 2 together. And we will continue knitting all the way to the end. When I'm finished with the row, I'll show it to you in English style. I'm finished with my row. I will turn it around. And again, I will knit through the back loop. Okay. Knit through the back loop. We will knit 2 together. Okay. And now I will knit every stitch to the end of the row. And then I will repeat this again and again and again. Okay. Always knit first stitch through the back loop and then knit 2 together in the beginning of the row, and then when you turn, you do the same thing. When you're finished with the row, you turn, right, and you do the same thing. And you will do this all the way until you have last 4 stitches left on your needles. So as you see, I decreased all the stitches along those 2 sides, and I still have to do 1 more decrease because I have 5 stitches left on my needle. So I'll do the last decrease, and then we will bind off. So this is my decrease, okay, and then we will knit these 2 stitches and we will bind off our stitches. And this is the way I usually bind off. Knit, knit, and then pass the stitch over the second knitted one. And actually now I don't want it to be too wide over here, so I will knit these 2 together. Okay, let me see if I can get in there. I will knit these 2 together and I will bind it off. And now 1 more knot stitch, okay, and we will cut off our yarn and weave it in. And as you see, these 2 kind of match, right? So now we just have to weave this one, and after I cut this one, we need to weave this in, and we also need to weave in all these tails in as well. Okay. Weave it in as invisibly as possible. I'm going to go around this edge right here. And I will weave it in just like this. Okay, so I need to get to the position. I need to get up here so I can go and weave in, you know, enough of the yarn. Okay, and let's go this way here, right here. We're gonna go and follow the curve. I will go here, follow the curve this way so I can follow this curve here. And now we will go here and again follow this curve up here. See, we're following this curve here, so we need to go get in here, so we can follow this curve. Okay, and don't tighten it up too much. You don't want it to be too tight. Okay, now my yarn is getting too short, so I'll just go like this one more time. Okay, and I will clip this off. I will do the same thing for this part. Okay, and then very similar, weaving in, following my curves. Okay, so with the gray I will go and do it on a gray, with white I will do it on the white, and I will go and just follow my curves just like that. All right, so this is what I will do. I will go through this curve right here. Okay, go inside that knot, and then I will follow this curve back up over here and follow this curve. So I will basically follow now two curves. I will follow this curve and this curve, then this curve and this curve. So you can see how the yarn is going. Okay, so it's kind of in an angle a little bit here. So here we are again with another finished project. I hope that you liked the video and hopefully you will make this scarf. If you do, please share your images. All right, and in the meantime, I want to thank you very much for sharing my videos and for commenting, and you will see me another time.